Alright, so this is going to be a bit of a personal video because I'm going to say things that I don't know if I even want to say these things, but I'm going to try ahead anyway because uh, I've been inspired to talk about this because of two videos that I've seen from the same YouTuber, and I'll put it in the description. These videos are amazing, okay? So essentially, they go over how the NBA failed Jeremy Lin, and it's really concise, it's coherent, and it goes through a lot of the things that the NBA have done that really just goes to show that they have a huge bias against Jeremy Lin. And this is seen in many instances, not with Asian Americans, but it's seen throughout the NBA's history with other people of different minority backgrounds. And I want to first talk about, Jeremy Lin because he has to be in a roster right now. He has to be called by an NBA team because he's too good to just be playing in China. Now, with all due respect, I know China, they have their league, and Jeremy Lin's thriving there. He makes millions now. It's good. He's making his money, he's worth, and so he's also fulfilling one of his childhood dreams of playing in China. So I'm really happy about that. That's good news. But you have this image of the NBA that people like to talk about how they're a champion of social justice and how they're behind the players when they protest and they really support everything. And you had the whole publicity stunt, quite frankly, is what I call it, when they put the words on the back of the jerseys: liberation, equality, group economics. I mean, what was that, man? That was just a slap to the face to everybody because in reality, the NBA isn't this bastion of diversity, inclusion, and whatnot. They are not. They're not. They're not. And the NBA has not done anything to rectify the situations that have really shown their prejudice to be horrible and horrific. And I'll talk to you about one situation that hits home with me because I can relate a lot to this guy. And uh, so in college, there was this guy. His name was Chris Jackson. He played some great basketball. He ended up eventually getting picked up by the NBA. And this guy, oof, he did not have, an easy road to the NBA and whatnot. He had to go through a lot of stuff. And like me, he has Tourette's. And knowing how bad Tourette's is, I cannot imagine how horrible and painful it must have been to go through each workout, to go through each games, knowing that you have to make it to the NBA. There's this added pressure as well, and this anxiety that Tourette's has on you. It's tough. It's tough. And he converted to Islam, which is really something that I found very interesting because I'm born and raised a Muslim. So again, another thing that we have in common. And then changed his name to Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. So you have this guy, and believe me, he's a great shooter. He was Stephen Curry before Stephen Curry existed, okay? This guy was a shooter that could shoot the lights out, but unfortunately, he was playing in a league where three-point shooting was not emphasized. As a matter of fact, him attempting a 30-foot shot from deep would get him benched. And because of that, he wouldn't get the opportunity to really show how great he was. Now, if you want to see how great he actually was, go check a YouTube video where there's highlights of him playing against Michael Jordan. You're gonna enjoy that, man. He torched Michael Jordan, bro. He torched the Bulls. That was a fun video, man. That was fun. Now, the situation with him comes when one day, the anthem plays. You know how the national anthem gets played before the game starts, and he decided to not stand up for the national anthem. So yeah, he did what Kaepernick did, but in the 90s. And the NBA, although they say they support what Kaepernick did, at the time, they were not happy with Abdul Rauf and what he did. So essentially, instead of standing up, he would sit down on the bench and he would do essentially what is called a prayer. And he would put his hands together as though he was reading a book and, do a prayer and pray that way. And his reasoning for it was to protest what the United States was essentially doing to minorities, and it was what they were essentially, the bias that they had, and really the discrimination that there was against Muslims and African Americans. And of course, it makes sense to protest if you have a big problem. You're from a background to where you're being affected this way, and like Kaepernick was accepted by many in the NBA, many across the league. You have a guy in Abdul Rauf who unfortunately was not only condemned, he was sent death threats. His house got burned at one point, and the NBA ended up blackballing him. He started playing less games, he started playing less minutes, and then he lost his starting position. And then after his contract expired in 1998, he couldn't even get a tryout to even make it to the NBA team. Guess how old this guy was? Guess. I'm going to give you 2 seconds. 1, 2, 29 years old. He was just 29 years old when all this happened. He got blackballed even more than Kaepernick. And Kaepernick got blackballed like crazy. And it's insane, because what do you expect me and others who've seen you blackball Abdul Rauf, how do you expect us to look at these stunts that the NBA pulls to try to, portray itself as being a diverse and inclusive organization? You still haven't said anything about what you did to Abdul Rauf. You still haven't addressed it. You still have just left it off. You've hidden it and you've talked about it. No, you haven't actually. I thought they did. I thought at some point they did talk to him, or they did rectify the situation. But no, there's still nothing. I can't find anything to where the NBA has made a statement, or done, or given them some compensation for what they did. And there's nothing. It's insane, man. It's insane. So before the NBA can come and talk about how they are a champion of social justice and rectify this, okay? Until then, I'm not gonna take you seriously when you talk about, racial justice. What do you mean racial justice? Look what you did to this guy, and you haven't still addressed it to this day. You should be ashamed of yourself, man. Fuck.